How do layers work? Everybody assumes that layers are a very confusing part in Photoshop, but actually, they're not. If you understand how to use layers, then you're the master within them, and you could do wonders in Photoshop. Do you know what it is meant by the layer? Well, first off, let me frame a proper definition for you. A layer is a sheet of some material covering a surface. Likewise, in Photoshop, layers act as a non-destructive element which is transparent. Hence, it is transparent, and you can see the objects or images in the layers which are arranged one below the other. To define it in more simple words, layers are a sheet of pixels that can be edited separately without affecting the other parts of the image. Layers are mostly used for compositing images or to add text in the image. Here is a fine image to show you the concept of layers. And this is how the layers are arranged in Photoshop. To open the Layers palette, go to the Window menu, and then click on the Layers palette. Or you can access it by hitting the F7 key as a shortcut. Now you've got the Layer palettes, and here you can see all the layers which are being used in this document. You can create layers, as many as you need for your illustration, by clicking on the New Layer icon. The Lock icon indicates that this image is partially locked. Using those layers, you could select a particular image, text, or shape easily by clicking on that layer, which automatically selects it. You have this opacity option, in which you can increase or decrease the transparency in a layer without affecting the other layers. Let me show you the option in this image layer. First, you have to select the layer and then click on this small triangle where you should see the slider. Then you can move it left or right. If you drag the slider to the left, the transparency level is increased. By moving it to the right, you'll see that the transparency level is decreasing. The Fill option also has the same properties as opacity. The Fill option will reduce the opacity of the subject inside a layer. The main difference in between those, which is, I want to say, the opacity option will adjust the transparency of the layer, but whereas the Fill option will adjust the transparency of the object in the layer, and it does not affect the layer styles which are applied to the object. Next, select the Rectangular tool. And then let's create a rectangle and adjust the Fill option of that object. Just click on the Fill option and drag the slider to the left. Can you see the changes? Yes, that's how opacity and Fill options work. And now we'll see how to duplicate a layer. Duplicating a layer is nothing but creating a copy of the original one. Here you can create a copy of the image using this duplicate option. Now select a layer and then right-click on it and select the Duplicate Layer option. Now you get a dialog box where you can specify a name for the duplicate layer, and now just type Image 2 here. In Destination, you can apply this duplicate layer in a new document, and then click OK. Now you've got the copy of this layer in the specified name. You can also arrange the layers if you need, and if you want to bring this particular Image 1 layer in front of Image 2 layer, then you have to click and drag Image Layer 1 and drop it above Image Layer 2. This is just an example that I've showed you, so you can arrange your layers as you feel suited. Hence, you've got an idea as to how to work in layers, and you'll see other options of layers in the coming tutorials. Smart Objects. Smart Objects are layers containing image data from raster or vector images, such as Photoshop or Illustrator files. The Smart Objects preserve an image's source content with all the original characteristics, which help us to perform non-destructive editing to the layer. You can create Smart Objects using several methods. They are: use the Open as Smart Object command in the File menu, then placing a file or pasting data from Illustrator software. Or you can also convert one or more Photoshop layers to Smart Objects. You can scale, rotate, transform, or warp a layer without losing original image data or quality, because the changes don't affect the original data. You can work with vector data, such as vector artwork from Illustrator, that otherwise would be rasterized in Photoshop. Here you have an image. If you want to convert that image to a smart object, then go to Layer menu and click on Smart Objects and select Convert to Smart Object. Or you can also choose that particular image layer and right-click on it, and then select the Convert to Smart Object option. Now you can see the Smart Object thumbnail in the image layer. You can also create a copy of the Smart Object where you go to the Layer menu and then click on Smart Objects and then select the New Smart Object via Copy from its sub-options. This creates a copy of the image as a smart object. You can create smart objects for as many layers as possible by pressing the Shift key and selecting the layers which you wish to convert. After selecting the layers, just right-click and select the Convert to Smart Object option. Therefore, you can preserve the layers in an image and its data using the Smart Object option. Now let's learn more about how to work and edit in the Smart Objects. You can edit, copy, export, and replace the smart objects. You have a separate layer which is already converted to a smart object. To edit in that, go to Layer menu and then click on the smart object and select Edit Contents. Photoshop automatically opens up a PSB file to edit the smart object. Now, as you do this, you get a dialog box asking to save the changes. Which you have done so, click on OK. And the edited content will be available in the original file. Using the Export Contents, you can export the smart object. Just select the Layer menu, then click on the smart object and select the Export Content option. Here you can specify a name and destination, where the file is to be stored as a smart object, for example as a PSB file format. You can also replace the smart object contents by another smart object or an image using this Replace Contents option. To see this application, go to the Layer menu and then click on the smart object and select the Replace Contents. Here you can select the location, file name or file type, and then finally click on the Place option. Now the selected file has been placed instead of the smart object. If you have more than one smart object, we can use the Stack mode to arrange them all. For that, go to Layer menu and then click on the Smart Object and select Stack Mode. Here you have various types of stack modes, such as entropy, kurtosis, maximum, mean, and so on. I suggest you experiment with these options on your own due to our time limitations here. You could rasterize the smart object using this Rasterize option under Smart Object option. By doing this action, only you can work on the smart object files. Hence, you can work with the smart object, which is available with the Photoshop document. Rasterize. The Rasterize option helps us convert the vector files into editable files. You cannot use the painting tools or filters on layers which hold the vector data such as type layers, shape layers, vector masks, or smart objects. Hence, using the Rasterize option, you can convert those contents into a flat or raster image, so that now you can work on vector files easily. Now select the type layer which you want to rasterize. Now go to Layer menu and click on the Rasterize, and here you'll find many sub-options within, where you can select the Type option. You can also just right-click on the selected layer and then click on the Rasterize type. Here you'll find the difference in the thumbnail of that layer after rasterizing it. Let me show you how to rasterize a shape layer. If you wish to apply a few strokes on the rectangle, right-click on the shape layer and then select Rasterize Layer. Here the layer is rasterized. Now you're going to learn the following options inside Rasterize. Select the other shape layer which is not rasterized to view the sub-options in the Rasterize option. Go and choose Layer menu, and then click on Rasterize and select the options as you need. The Type option rasterizes the text on a type layer. It does not rasterize any other vector data on the layer. As you saw in this option before, let's see. The Shape option, which rasterizes the shape layer as we did before. The Fill Content option rasterizes the fill of a shape layer, leaving the vector mask. Vector Mask option rasterizes the vector mask on a layer, turning it into a layer mask. The Smart Object option converts a smart object into a raster layer. Using this Video option, it rasterizes the current video frame to an image layer. The Layer option rasterizes all vector data on the selected layers. And then finally, the All Layers option rasterizes all layers that contain vector and generated data. You can use these options to rasterize the corresponding content which you have in the workspace. Therefore, you can rasterize text, shape, fill content, vector mask, and smart object, and so on. You can rasterize the current layer as well as all the layers in a Photoshop document. Merge, flatten, and group. Merge layers. The Merge Layer option will help us combine one or more layers into a single layer. This option is mainly used to reduce the file size, and it is done only after doing all the changes. To merge these layers, now press the Shift key and select the layers which you wish to merge. Then click on the Layer menu and select the Merge Layers option. When you use this option, you can see the contents in the separate layers are brought into the single layer, and it does not affect the other layers. The intersection of all transparent areas in the merge layers remain transparent. Now here's a note for you. You cannot use an adjustment layer or fill layer as the target layer for a merge option. You can also merge all visible layers using the Merge Visible option. Now let's see how to flatten an image using the Flatten Image option. Go and click on the Layer menu, and then select the Flatten Image option. This option will merge all visible layers into a single background layer. It also lets us reduce the file size of the image. If you have any hidden layers, it prompts you to select the Flatten Image. If needed, you can discard those hidden layers, or else include them into the Flatten Image. Group. Press Ctrl and Z simultaneously on the keyboard. The Group option helps us combine the layers together to form a folder, which is called a group. To group the layers, first you need to select the layers by pressing the Shift key, and then select the layers which you wish to group. After selecting the layers, go to the Layer menu and click on the Group Layers option. Now you can see the selected layers are being grouped in the Layers palette. Here you should find the Group folder, where all the layers are hidden inside. If you want to view or work in a particular grouped layer, you can click on a small triangle icon, and it shows all the hidden layers. From here you can select the layer and work on it. When you want to hide the layers, then again click on that triangle where it automatically hides in it. You double-click on the folder icon and you should see the Group Properties dialog box. In this, you can specify a name for it. And then choose a color from the color option and enable or disable the color channels. Hence, you can merge, flatten, and group a Photoshop layer to have reduced file size. Layer controls. Let me pose a question for you. Are you aware of all the icons in the layer palette? Well, I guess you're stumbling on it a bit, but that's okay because I'm here to show you how each of these icons function. Basically, these icons help us control the layers in Photoshop. Now let's start the layer controllers with the Eye icon. The Eye icon is placed in the leftmost column of the layer in the Layer palette. It controls the visibility of the layer, and if you click on it and disable it, you are unable to see the image. It's because Photoshop hides the image in the document, but not the layer from its palettes. The Lock Transparency icon will lock the transparent areas of the layer to restrict modifications in it. The Lock Image icon will lock the entire layer, including the transparent layers, and it does not allow any changes to be done in it. Lock Position icon will lock and restrict the movement of the contents in the layer. The Lock All icon will restrict all types of editing in the layers. Now, you've already learned about the opacity and fill options in the layers introduction, so now we'll learn the rest. The Link Layers icon will help us link the layers, and it only works when you select 2 or more layers. Add a layer style icon will let you apply layer styles to the selected layer from the layer palette. Add layer mask icon will let us create a layer mask in the layer palette. The fill or adjustment layer icon will help us select the adjustments for the selected layer. New group option will create new groups for the layers. And then the new layer icon will create a new layer in the layer palette. Last but not least, do you know how to delete a layer? Alright, let's go after it. You can select the layer and then press the delete key, or you can right-click on it and select the delete layer option. Can you find that layer now? You cannot, because it has been deleted from the Photoshop by doing this action. Learn more about masking. Masking is the most powerful and easy technique found in Photoshop. I can define the term masking for you now. When any material covers an object or a surface, it's said to be masking. The same concept is applied to the layers in Photoshop also. Here you can create masking using a few options in the layers. The masking layer allows you to show or hide portions in an image. It also protects some areas of an image from editing. In Photoshop, masking is the most fascinating aspect of creative image making, to create truly inspiring images. You can use this masking technique in many innovative ways. The masking layer is very useful for compositing technique, for blending 2 or more images into a single image. It is also used to make color and tonal corrections in the image. You can use the masking concept to create 2 types of masking, and they are the layer masking and vector masking. Now you'll learn about these 2 masking techniques in the coming lessons. Layer masking. Layer masking is a very useful method in the masking technique. This masking allows us to merge 2 layers and leave few portions revealed and hidden. The 2 layers are merged with the gradient tool from the toolbar. Now let's see how this masking technique works in layers. Here you have 2 portraits in separate layers. Now you'll try removing the unwanted area from those 2 images using the Magic Wand tool from the toolbar. Just select the tool and click on the white space of image 1 so that it selects the area. And now press the delete key to delete the selected area. Go ahead and repeat the same steps for image 2 as well. You can also use the Ctrl and D shortcut key to deselect a selection. After deleting the white areas in the images, now it is ready to apply layer mask in the layers. Without deleting the empty areas, you can work in the layers for masking, but it's an extra edge to the appearance which I made now. Here in the Layers palette, you select Image 2 Layer, and then go to Layer menu, and then select Layer Masking. And you can see its sub-options where you select Reveal All option. The Hide All option will hide some portions of the image. As you select the option, you can see the Layer Mask thumbnail in the Image 2 layer. Now here comes the important step where you paint with the Gradient tool. Select the Gradient tool and then click and drag the cursor diagonally in the Image 2 layer. After releasing the cursor, you can see the changes. Yeah, now you've got the effect as soon as you release the cursor. The 2 portrait images are merged and blended finely. Hence, you've learned how to mask layers using this layer masking technique. Vector masking. The vector masking is a resolution independent, and it is created with the pen, shape, and type tools. This masking creates a sharp-edged shape on the layer. The vector masking always takes a design from the layer below the selected vector layer. Now first off, you'll learn how to create a shape masking technique under Vector Mask. Now you have some nice clouds image here, and this image layer is going to be the base for masking. To apply the shape masking technique, you need to create a shape using the Custom Shape or any shape tool from the toolbar. Before that, create a new layer by clicking on this icon in the Layer palette, and then click and pull the layer down in the image layer. After that, click on the Custom Shape tool and select a shape from its presets. Then, simply click and drag the cursor on the image. Here, the shape has been created in that layer for masking, and you should find the shape thumbnail also. Now, let's mask it. For that, press the Alt key, where you move the cursor in between these two layers. You can see the change of symbol. Now, click in between those two layers, and you'll be able to see the masking now. You can also move this mask shape by selecting the image layer, and then clicking on the lock icon to lock that particular image layer to avoid displacement. Now, select the Move tool from the toolbar. Click on the Shape layer and try to move the shape. As you move, you'll be able to see the masking has been applied to the entire image. Hence, using the vector masking, you'll be able to create type and shape masking. Applying layer styles. Layer styles are special effects that can be quickly and easily applied to an individual layer in Photoshop to drastically change the appearances of the contents in the layers within less time. Under Layer Style, Photoshop has provided many blending options, such as drop shadow, inner shadow, outer and inner glow, bevel and emboss, and so on. The effects can be easily adjusted after applying them in a layer. Now here's a picture to show you all the styles under Layer Style option, and in the picture, each style is shown in each shape. These styles are used to add an extra edge and creative touch to your illustration or layers. The blending options do not merge or affect the layers, and it's easy to remove them. I consider this as a very fun part in Photoshop because here you can apply any adjustments as you wish and then get immediate results for it. Now you have a text in a new document, and you would experiment these layer style options in it. To apply the options in the selected layer, you should click on the FX icon and select the blending options, which you see in the bottom of the layer palette. Or you can just right-click on the selected layer and choose the blending options, in which you'll want to apply the options. Now you can see the Layer Styles dialog box, where you'll find all the options and the corresponding settings here. You can apply any styles and play around with its settings. On starting to learn the styles, first you begin with the drop shadow. This style creates a shadow for the element in a selected layer. Just click on it to enable this style, and immediately you'll see the style has been applied to the text. These are the settings for this style, in which you can experiment on your own. Then you can also change the modes of the drop shadow using this Blend Mode option. You can change the color of the drop shadow using this icon. You can also control its opacity by dragging its slider. Using the Angle option, you can click and rotate it to change the angle of the drop shadow. And then you can also use this Global Light option if you need it. You can also move the sliders of the distance, speed, and size option according to your wishes. As you move these sliders, you can see the changes happening to the text. Under Quality Settings, you have the Contour option, where it changes the appearance of the drop shadow. If you click on this small triangle, you can find the options in the contour, and by double-clicking on the option, you can select it. If you click on the contour icon, you can get the contour editor to change the mapping of it. Now here, do some changes in the mapping, and click on OK. The changes will appear in the style. You can also increase the noise of the style by dragging the noise slider. And you can use the Layer Knocks Out Drop Shadow options when the fill is transparent in the layer. You can also create a new style by using the New Style option. Now, if you want to quit the styles, then click on Cancel, or click on OK to apply the style in the text. Here, you'll see all the styles in brief due to the time factor. When you click on the style, you get its settings. And I ask you to experiment on these on your own. Continuing with styles, this Inner Shadow style will create the shadow inside the text as you click on it. And you should see it, and you can play around with its settings as well. When you click on the Outer Glow style, it will create a glow outside the text. And the next click on the Inner Glow style which will create a glow inside the text. And then just click on this Bevel and Emboss style. It will create an embossed effect in the text. And under this, we have the Contour and Texture option, where you can apply it for the embossed effect. And you can also click on both options. Next, if you click on the Satin style, it will create a satin effect in the text. And then Color Overlay option will fill the default color in the text. Just click on it and see the color which is filled with text. The Gradient Overlay option will apply the gradient to the text. Click on the style to view it. I think you're not able to see the gradient in the text. It's because of the Color Overlay style. If you click and disable it, then you're able to view the gradient style. Then click on this Pattern Overlay style, which will help us fill a pattern in the text. And then finally, this Stroke style creates a border for the text. If you click on this stroke, the default color and size will be applied to the border of the text. After applying the style and settings, click on OK to apply the changes in your text. Now, if you wish to hide a particular style, then you can click and disable this eye icon of that style from the Layer palette. Hence, you have learned how to apply layer styles to a text, and similarly, you can apply it to the 2D and 3D objects as well as videos. Blending Modes 1. The blending modes. Now, how do I define it for you? Well, to tell you in a few simple words, as color in different layers interact with each other's, well, they're called blending modes. This option creates various effects in the layers. To set the blending modes in an image, here are the options in it, and you can experiment them as you wish. Now you have an image document, and in the Layers palette, create a new layer. Now you can start your innovative experiments from the Dissolve mode. Just click on the down arrow of the blending modes, and over here select the Dissolve mode. This mode is visible only with a blend layer that has an opacity adjustment of less than 100%. As you move the slider to the left, you can see the Dissolve mode is applied to the selected layer, and it changes the appearance of the image by creating a new effect. This effect is created by allowing some pixels from layers to show through the target layer. In the Darken mode, where the pixels on the selected layer are lighter than the layer which is below, and this lighter pixel turns transparent. After applying the Darken mode, now you can make out the difference from the Dissolve mode. And press the down key from the keyboard to change the blending modes. The Multiply mode will catch the color information first in the selected layer, and darkens the colors of the layer beneath the selected layer. The final color in the image always appears darker only. Now I hope you can't make out any changes in the mode after applying it. This Color Burn mode also catches the color information in the selected layers and darkens the layers beneath. This mode always increases the contrast in the image, and you can see the immediate changes in the selected layer now. The Linear Burn mode darkens the layers beneath the selected layer. This is similar to the Multiply mode, but it tends to make some parts of the image turn pure black. This mode darkens the image as you apply it. The Darker Color mode works similar to the Darken mode. This works on all channels simultaneously. When you blend two colors with this mode, the darker color is always visible. This result is also similar to the Linear mode. The Lighten mode always works inversely to the Darker mode. What do you know? If the pixels on the layer are darker than those beneath, then the darker pixels turn transparent. And if the pixels in the layer are lighter, then they appear the same. Hence, you can find a great difference in the image layer after applying the mode. In the Screen mode, the channel information is captured by Photoshop, and then multiplies the blend and base colors to create an effect. The end result is usually a lighter color, and you can also not find much of a difference by applying this mode. The Screen mode with black produces no change after applying the mode, whereas the white color in the layer produces a white screen. It is similar to the photographic filters on top of each other. After applying the mode, you will not find many obvious differences within it. Blending modes number 2. This color dodge and linear dodge modes usually check the color information in each channel and also brightens the base color to reflect the blend color. In the color dodge, the blend color decreases the contrast, whereas in the linear dodge, it increases the brightness. Now you'll see the changes in color dodge mode by selecting it from the blend modes. I don't believe you'll see any changes in the image. Then switch to the linear mode, and now also you might not find the difference in between them. The lighter mode works very similar to the Lighten mode. This mode works on all channels simultaneously, and it's only visible when blending two colors with this mode. So let's now create a layer in the layer palette by clicking on this icon, and then choose a light color in the color picker. Now you can apply the mode in this new layer, where it brings some changes to it. Then the overlay mode multiplies the colors depending on the base color. This base color is actually not mixed, but it blends the colors to reflect the lightness or darkness to the original color. Immediately after applying this mode, you can find the changes in the image. I hope this effect is more appealing for you. The soft light mode lightens or darkens the colors totally depending on the blend color. In this case, you have to delete the secondly created layer. If the blend color is darker, for example in black, then the image also appears darker and in a burned effect. Just apply the mode and observe the changes. Yes, now you can see the effect using this mode. If the blend color is lighter, for example white, then the image also appears lighter. Hard light mode is totally dependent on the blend color. When you apply this mode in the blend color, the image appears to be in shining harsh light. This end result is also similar to the soft light. If the blend color is lighter, then the image is also lighter. Now you can apply this mode and see the changes in the image. And now it appears to be in dark. The black and white color produces darker and lighter effects in the image. The vivid light mode always burns the colors by increasing or decreasing the contrast, depending on the blend color. Now over here also, if the blend color is darker, then the image also appears darker by decreasing the contrast. Let's apply this mode and see the difference. After applying the mode, and you can see the immediate changes in the selected layer now. Then if the blend color is lighter, the image also appears lighter. The linear light mode hides the color by increasing or decreasing the brightness, depending on the blend color. This is also similar to the above mode, whereas the blend color is dark, so that the image also appears darker by decreasing the brightness. Now you'll see how it blends the color after applying the mode. There are no changes occurring in the image, but it appears only darker. Blending modes 3. Pin light. This mode usually replaces the colors depending on the blend color. We have a darker blend color, so the lighter pixels are replaced by the darker ones. It's mostly used to create special effects in the image. After applying the modes, we can see darker changes taking place. Hard mix mode always depends on the selected layer's opacity value, and it creates a posterize effect in the image. The higher the opacity value creates a higher posterize effect, and of course the lower the value creates a lower posterize effect. After applying the mode, you can get the effect in the image. Now just move the opacity slider to the left or right to find the difference between them. The difference mode always checks the color information in each channel, and it also subtracts either the blend color from the base color or base color from the blend color, depending on the brightness value. Always blending with black or dark colors produces no effect. So now create a new layer in the layer palette, and then fill a different color in it. Now apply the mode, and you'll see the difference. Then the exclusion mode also creates a similar effect, but it appears in the lower contrast. When you apply the mode in this newly created layer, you can see slight changes taking place. Even this mode produces no changes in dark colors. This hue mode creates the luminance and saturation effect of the base color, and the saturation affects the blend color. You can apply the mode in the same layer itself. After applying the mode, you'll see the fill color is nicely blended with the image to give a tint effect. The saturation mode creates the luminance and affects the base color, and the saturation affects the blend color. Now you can apply the saturation mode in the same layer itself. Can you see the difference? Color mode also creates the luminance of the base color, and the saturation affects the blend color. It usually preserves the gray levels in the image and is mostly useful for coloring monochromatic images. You cannot see much of the change of this mode after applying it in the second layer. The tint has been changed in the image due to this mode according to the fill color. It's mostly used to change tinting color images. The luminosity mode creates the effect of saturation of the base color and the effect of the luminance of the blend color. It usually creates an inverse effect of the color mode. After applying the mode to the same layer, you're able to find the change in the image. Now finally, if you want to cancel or remove the blend modes from the layer, just select the normal mode, where it regains the original layer. An important note for you, all the blending modes depend on the blend's color layers above the image layers. Using the blending modes, you've created some mind-blowing effects to the image here in Photoshop.